The world is full of secrets waiting to be discovered. From deep under the ocean, there are sunken cities hiding in plain sight. From up in the sky, there's planets that could support life and maybe even intelligent alien civilizations. And all around us on land, there are lost relics of past cultures hidden in the dirt, just waiting for someone to stumble across them. Today, we're going to travel back to ancient Egypt and explore one such secret that's been left buried in the sand for thousands of years. We'll be uncovering the mystery of Tanis, an ancient Egyptian capital that rivaled the legendary Greek city of Thebes, and which has been called the greatest archaeological discovery in the 20th century. But first, let's start with a little history lesson. In the late Bronze Age and early Iron Age, after the collapse of the Egyptian Empire, the country would enter a period known as the New Intermediate Period. This lasted from around 1650 BC until 1550 BC and saw Egypt split into three separate regions: the north, the south, and the middle, with Upper Egypt based in Thebes, Lower Egypt based in Memphis, and Middle Egypt based in the city of Tanis, also known as Tapia. It was during this time that Thebes came to prominence and was ruled by Mentuhotep II, who managed to reunite Egypt and establish the 11th dynasty. But following this, Egypt would once again fall into a period of political disunity, instability, and foreign domination, this time at the hands of the Nubian kingdom of Kush. At the height of the new kingdom, however, Egypt would throw off its shackles and a new native dynasty would emerge, the 21st dynasty, with its capital at Tanis. This dynasty would last for over 2 centuries and rule from around 1077 BC to 1000 BC, enjoying a golden age of peace and prosperity. The rulers were very much in favor of the gods Amun and Ptah. After the 21st dynasty, a new group of foreign rulers would arrive, the Nubian Kushite people. They had previously ruled Egypt for a brief period as the 25th dynasty, but were driven out by the Assyrians. Now, however, they were back and would rule Egypt for another century before being defeated by the new Assyrian allies, the Persians. With the rise of Persia, Egypt became a province and would be known as Kemet. The Persian kings would build impressive monuments across the land, including the Temple of Isis at Philae, which is still standing today. But their rule would be short-lived as Alexander the Great would conquer the region. Following his death, Egypt would become part of the Ptolemaic kingdom and then eventually fall to the Roman Empire. And so ends the official history of Tanis. The city would have been abandoned sometime before 30 BC when Cleopatra died, and Egypt officially became a province of Rome. The site of Tanis, however, would not be lost completely, as it would go on to inspire a legend. According to Islamic tradition, it was here in the city of Tanis where Joseph, son of Jacob, was thrown into a well by his brothers. Later, he would be sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, and would eventually rise to become vizier of Egypt and save the kingdom from famine. In fact, this story of Joseph is said to have taken place at the height of the 21st dynasty, when the ruler, Ramesses III, brought Egypt to great wealth and prosperity. So we know quite a lot about the history of the city. But what actually happened to it? How did it disappear from history? Well, if you've been paying attention, you may have noticed something interesting. During all of the periods of Egyptian history that I just mentioned, the city of Tanis was never the capital. Tanis was a very important city, no doubt about it, but it was always second in importance to Thebes in the north or Memphis in the south. So why is it that Tanis is now famous as a lost capital? Well, it's because of what was found beneath its streets. As far back as the 13th century AD, Arab historians would record the existence of Tanis, mentioning that it was a great city from the days of the Pharaohs, but that it had been destroyed by an earthquake and buried under a sand dune. It remained lost to the modern world for many centuries, until one day in 1929, a team of Egyptologists began excavating the site. What they found was nothing short of incredible. Not only was Tanis far larger than anyone had anticipated, but it was filled to the brim with priceless artifacts, treasures that had been lost to time. It soon became apparent that the city had been largely untouched for all those centuries, protecting its treasures from grave robbers and preserving it in almost pristine condition. It was literally a city of gold. The sheer amount of riches unearthed at Tanis is mind-boggling. In one tomb alone, the excavators found enough gold to fill 18 cartons, with each carton weighing 14 pounds. Even the young king Tutankhamun's tomb was not so opulent. In total, 36 tons of precious metals were discovered at Tanis, with thousands of pieces of jewelry, ornaments, candelabras, and other decorative items, all crafted from gold. Aside from these treasures, 40 royal mummies were found, although these weren't the kind of mummies everyone expected. They weren't high-profile pharaohs like Ramses or Akhenaten. Instead, they were the remains of commoners who had been elevated to the rank of pharaoh. These individuals, along with the countless artifacts and works of art found throughout the city, tell the story of the 21st and 22nd dynasties and paint a picture of a glorious past that had been all but forgotten. One of the most perplexing aspects of the discovery, however, is that there was very little trace of the 22nd dynasty. Despite finding the tombs of over 40 individuals who held the title of pharaoh, not a single inscription or piece of artwork depicts any of them. Even more puzzling is that the name of the last pharaoh of the 21st dynasty, Smendes, was deliberately erased from practically every monument, leaving behind only a few fragments. To make matters even more mysterious, there was no evidence of a single woman ruling Egypt at the time, despite the fact that several female pharaohs are known to have existed. All of this suggests that there may have been a deliberate attempt to erase the history of both the 22nd dynasty and the later years of the 21st dynasty, though the reasons for doing so remain unclear. One theory is that this was done by the Kushite rulers of the 25th dynasty, who came into power after the 21st dynasty, and who may have wanted to erase any mention of their predecessors. Another possibility is that the Kushite rulers simply weren't considered true pharaohs by the Egyptians, and that the erasure was done by the Romans after they conquered Egypt. There is also the theory that the 22nd dynasty never even existed, and that all of the supposed pharaohs of this period were actually regents or high officials ruling on behalf of a female pharaoh. Unfortunately, the truth is that no one knows for sure why the 22nd dynasty was effectively wiped from history. It's a frustrating mystery that may never be solved. What's even more frustrating is that the excavations at Tanis were halted in 1933 due to financial constraints. Imagine if your favorite TV show ended right at its most exciting point. That's how the story of Tanis feels. Just when things are starting to get really interesting, we're told to come back tomorrow for more, except tomorrow never comes. If the excavations had continued, we may have learned more about the 22nd dynasty and the reasons for its disappearance. We may have also found the legendary pharaohs of the 11th dynasty who ruled from Thebes, as well as many other lost treasures of ancient Egypt. Instead, we are left with more questions than answers and a mountain of priceless artifacts sitting in a museum in Cairo. Tanis is truly a lost city in more ways than one. It was buried in the sand for centuries, and now it's buried in obscurity, forgotten by most of the world. Perhaps one day the secrets of this amazing city will be uncovered, and we'll learn more about the 21st and 22nd dynasties and their place in ancient Egyptian history. Until then, Tanis remains a treasure trove of mysteries, a reminder that there's still so much we don't know about the past. If you enjoyed this video, I highly recommend watching my video on the forgotten city of Heracleion. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next video.